Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics round review. We're recording live on Sunday, the 29th of September, post round 5 of the AFLW Fantasy season. I'm your host, Balls, and you can find me at BallsDT across the socials. And if you guys have got any players that you'd like discussed or questions like answered towards the end of the show, then get them in the live chat on YouTube, and we'll get to a few of those towards the end of it. But joining me, as always, is my fellow co-host and fellow AFLW Fantasy Fanatic. It is Jaiden Mitch. Jaiden, mate, how are you? And how was a busy weekend?
Hey, Bales. Yeah, nice. Good weekend. Plenty of footy on. Congrats to Brisbane on the AFL men's flag. And, yeah, overall pretty nice week in the women's as well.
Yeah. No, congrats to Brisbane on their win, but just disappointing again to get another grand final that was a blowout. There's only been 2 grand finals for me in the last decade that have actually been sort of really worth watching, to be fair, and that was 2018. Not good for you, Jaiden, as a Collingwood fan, but then last year, good for you as a Collingwood fan. So Collingwood have been involved in both the close grand finals. So even as a non-Collingwood fan, if Collingwood can make the grand final next year, it'd probably be pretty close. So, congrats to Brisbane on winning the grand final there. But we did have another AFLW fantasy round, and that sort of, again, spanned from Tuesday to Sunday, which is the norm with these double game weeks there. So we'll quickly go around the grounds and check in on score. So, Jaiden, mate, how did you go in round 5? What was your score, and what is your rank currently?
I scored 1929. I think that's not too bad. I've improved from 693rd up to 360th. So yeah, pretty happy with that.
Yep. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I scored the 1811. That saw me drop 48 spots, which, considering I didn't have Conti or Riddell, that I'll take it. Like 1811 wasn't too bad. Had a couple of players stand up in single games, which is probably what helped me sort of not sink as much as what I thought I was going to. I didn't have the Ghana VC kick in until the Giants game, and I was ranked like near 2,000, and I thought, crap, I'm going to drop like 1,000 spots here. But then the plus 200 and something, whatever she got, that was pretty nice to get that added there as well, which is nice. So, but joining us is the top scorer of the three of us, and he is jumping on for his first Sunday night review, which is very good. To have him on is Mitch from the Ball Boys and one of the fellow AFLW Fantasy Fanatics. Mitch, mate, how was your weekend? Just before you get into your scoring rank, how was your weekend in general?
Yeah, weekend was good. Actually went away camping for a bit this weekend, so watched a bit of the footy before the weekend started, but I've missed a few of these Saturday and Sunday games. But yes, no, team did very well, but no, it was a good weekend overall.
Yeah, mate. So we're leading into that. What was your score? What's your rank currently?
The score was 2,038, and the ranking is, what is the ranking? 621. So,
how much did you shoot up this week?
That's a good question. Let's have a look. I think I came in 1,000 spots. About 1,000 spots I've come in from last week. It was actually last week that I made a big move up. So from week 4 onwards, I was 4,300. So the last couple of weeks have gone up. 4,000 spots, nearly 3,500 spots. So going in the right directions. Hopefully these bloody double game weeks can continue to do as well as they have in the last couple. But this is always going to be my strong round. So I think the thing we've also got to remember is it's like the bye rounds, right?
It's one big week.
View it as one big week. So some of us are going to have strong rounds in one week. Some of us are going to have weak rounds in others. And it'll all kind of balance out in the end. So this was sort of always going to be my strong week. I had four midfielders on the double game round this week. So it doesn't get much stronger than that. So yeah, I know but it's probably going to come back in the end and have some painful ones the next 2.
Yeah, that would have been nice, at least as a non-Marinoff owner, at least to look at those scores and see some 200s and just go, yes, Marinoff, you're not going to ruin my week this week.
Yeah, and well, she's still bloody going. She's only had one score below her starting price, which I just find absolutely nuts. But yeah, anyway,
free, so good. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think I said my rank was 3, 5, 7. If I didn't before, apologies for that. But we'll go into our plus and minus 3. So, Mitch, mate, we'll jump straight back to you, mate. Who gets your plus and minus 3 for the week?
Look, I could give it to a couple of my North midfielders, but I'm going to give it to Izzy Huntington because she had an amazing game today. This was one of the games I did get to watch this weekend. Just the intercept marks, man. Like, she was going off. She's catching everything. 11 marks, 95 points, by far her best score. And after she's been very disappointing since I traded her in round 2, she's obviously missed a game and then had the 31. She redeemed it today. And yes, I was very happy to see that 95. With my worst scoring forward this week was Kate Hoare. So, that was a good week for my forward lines, topped off by Huntington in the second last game. Negative 3, I'm going to give it to Fieldler for being on field. I traded out Edmonds to a 300k ruck just to make the cash to make some upgrades, but thinking that I could Fieldler, but guess I couldn't because she dropped to 26 after averaging over 60 in her first 2 games when she was on my bench. So that was always lovely to see and play 50% time on ground. So it's an issue that I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with. Yeah,
and it made it worse the fact that Edmonds actually looked pretty good, and Georgia Ball was injured, I believe, as well in the game. She went off injured. So, bloody hell.
Lovely.
Yeah, I feel your pain, mate. That trade went as good as you could have hoped for.
Yeah.
Bloody fantasy. Jade, mate, your plus and minus 3?
I did very similar to Mitch. Traded Edmonds to Fiddler, but I had OD out on field, so that was okay. But yeah, Edmonds, everything just went perfect for her. I think Morfitt missed a lot of the game as well. She decided, she hurt herself again. Edmonds was the only ruck out there left, pretty much. So frustrating. But yeah, I had Huntington as well, who I was going to give it to, but I'll go for, I think Courtney Hodder really stood up. I was kind of hoping she would have eventually. And
played that role that we've been wanting her to play all year, just that the whole game. She was essentially like an extra midfielder.
Yeah, so she's got that in her. It's always funny because she does amazing in these difficult matchups, and then against the easy ones, she doesn't have to do much. So she's just it does amazing now, which is great. And the negative 3 for me goes to Zali Friswell. I brought her in because I needed players for this week. I brought her in last week, sorry. And I thought last week 6 marks and only 13 touches. The 6 marks really saved her score with the 62. And now is the disappointment from 0 marks. So she was really saved by the 6 marks last week, and she got none this week. So 36 points, pretty not great.
Yeah, exactly. My plus and minus 3. There's a couple of players. I will just shout out. I'll shout out Gemma Houghton because the people in the group chat know I was messaging saying season's done, it's over. Sheeran suspended. Houghton's on 0 at quarter time. Then she got a minus 3. But in her last 7 quarters, she went really, really well. So she ended up scoring 131 points in the next 7 quarters. So I'll definitely take that. She's got a great run rest of the year. So I think I'm just going to hold her now for the remainder of the year. So just a shout to her. But I'll actually give my plus 3 I'll give it to Jazz Garner because after the 81 that she scored in the first game, rested the whole last quarter and played forward, I was thinking, okay, well, if she only gets 100 next game, I'm going to lose 70, 80 points on Riddell. But thankfully, Garner came through strong today and was massive with 131 from 91% time on ground, which is massive as well. A lot of tackles, 12 tackles, which Garner can tackle, but she doesn't normally put up double digits too often. So I'll definitely take that. And she softened the blow of not having Riddell or Conti. So I'll definitely take that. Just an update on the AFLW Fantasy Content Creators Cup as well. I'm so used to saying proudly sponsored by, but there's no sponsor this year just because it's a free one. But in terms of the matchups this week, so I did have I'll give Will a pass. Obviously, he's on his honeymoon and everything, but I did get the job done there, 18-11 to 14-22. So in the other ones, though, a lot of high scores here. Every other coach scoring over 1,800. So you had JS going down to Mitch, which, as Jazz is saying, can't believe he scored over 2,000 went down, but 2013 to 2038 with Mitch being the top scoring coach of the week, which is which is fantastic. So congrats on that, Mitch, mate. How's it feel? Be the top scoring coach of the week.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. I thought I was going to go down, to be honest. To go into that last matchup, he had 2 players. I had the one. I had Gearin, and he had Goody, and who was it? Dersmer, I think. So stoked to come out with the win in that one. But yeah, it's pretty rough when you score 2,000 points and lose. He'd beat any other coach. So yeah, that's kind of bad luck, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly. Then we go to the next matchup, which is Eloise getting the job done over Jono, 1917 to 1809. Mel getting the job done over her fellow podcast host Liam, 1960 to 1907. And then Jackson going down to Jaiden, 1906 to 1929. So the 3 AFLW Fantasy Fanatics getting all dubs for the week, which is fantastic. So in terms of the overall leaderboard, it won't be updated, but I know for a fact that myself and Jaiden will keep our spots at 1 and 2 at the top. There, I think I'll just be. Actually, what's your overall rank, Jaiden? I actually forgot what you said.
I'm only 3 behind you, so I'm at 360.
Okay, good. I've held my spot at the top of the heap. That's good. And then I'm not quite sure exactly, but I know Mitch will move up obviously with the win there as well, which is great. So looking forward to seeing how those matchups go. And again, we can't see how many coaches are in the top 100 from our openly because lockout has not lifted. So we'll quickly go through the games as well. So we'll do a bit of a similar format to what we did last week. So I know obviously Mitch, you weren't on with us on the Sunday, but we did a little bit similar to Bogs and Flogs, which is obviously what you and Luke do, but a little bit different. We don't want to get copyright claimed by one of our own, mate. So we'll do just sort of who we were impressed with and who we weren't. We'll do one player from each. So Mitch, I'll start off with you actually. So we'll go all the way back to the Richmond Port Adelaide game. So who impressed you from this game? So name one player that you're impressed with.
Oh, you test my memory here. That was when? Was that bloody Tuesday? Hold on, let me bring up the stats. Because the players have all obviously had 2 games, so I'm kind of just thinking it as one big thing. Ola Sheeran was good that game, so she impressed me a lot. I think shout out to her for scoring 78 with the 9 tackles.
And not getting suspended.
Yeah, not getting suspended. Her time on ground, I can't remember if that was 63%. Moving up in the right direction. Still not great, but better than it was. So I think she was good. The player who I'm going to give the unofficial flog award to was Tegan Germek. Just for...
Oh, yeah, I saw your post.
So I traded her in and not expecting anything at all. Just wanted a green dot and in the hope that something would happen. She had the lowest break even of 300k rucks that had the double game round. She scored 19 points in the first quarter. And I'm thinking, maybe I've got onto a lucky one here. I've got a little sneaky cash rise. 19 points. I'm timesing that by 4 in my head, doing the old Calvinator. Yeah. What did she finish on? Fucking 19. What do we do? Touch the ball the rest of the game. That was again, I wasn't expecting much, but my hopes just got lifted after that first quarter. So that's why she gets the unofficial flog for. But then again, 46 in this game. So, but for that game, no good.
Yeah. And you mentioned Ola Sheeran as well. She scored 78 in both games. Exactly. So, but her game time in the final game, which we'll chat about obviously with North Melbourne, went up to 79%. So that's obviously really good to see her time on ground sort of getting back to normality. We'll move on. And also, I should have said Richmond won by 21 points as well in that game there. But moving on to the Wednesday night game, which was North Melbourne and Carlton, with North Melbourne winning comprehensively 79-10. And Jaiden, what was one player that impressed you and one player that didn't impress you?
Hard to go past Riddell, 138 as captain. Really delivered and just set up the weekend in a nice way because she was the best option. So you know compared to what happened last week with Davey and stuff like that, people picking her, it's good to have a big score come out of a captain straight up. So that's very nice. I suppose the disappointing one would be Vessia. I know a lot of people were keen on them, and only 21 points from 76% time on ground. There was opportunity there, I guess, in the role, potentially. No Dana Finn, but yeah, it seemed like Gab Pound just took all the points from any defenders that were missing. That would have been disappointing for coaches who went there because she was quite cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But extra shout out as well to Keely Shearer, who scored 128. So if you went her as a pod, you're very happy. And also, our favorite cash cow of the year, Ruby Tripodi, 79. She'll be a season-long keeper, I'd imagine. She's looking very, very good in that role. Geelong and North Melbourne, Geelong and Hawthorn, not North Melbourne, with Hawthorn getting the job done by 18 points there. I was impressed with probably the duo of Eliza West and Lucy Wells, 130 and 121, both getting the job done there and coming through for their coaches that if they do. Lucy Wells probably the more popular of the two, and a few people did jump off of her to bring in an O'Dowd or Field O'Dowd, and unfortunately she's gone really big in the last couple of games, which have been good matchups. So good friend. Also, Mateo Bree with a 99 was also very good. I did say it in there in our chat that any holders are kissed because we all traded up to a primo mid only for Bree Davey to get injured and it all sort of to not happen. So not too great. The disappointing one, it's not disappointing in terms of score, but it would have to be Amy McDonald just from this one, because if anyone did have her as a bit of a unique, the fact that she's now done a hamstring and she's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks means that she misses a double next week, and then you've got a forced trade of a player that you were banking on playing or hoping to play 2 games. That's really disappointing there. But also Friswell as well was disappointing in this game with just the 40 points. We'll go to the Friday games, which unfortunately, moving house, I didn't get to see any football on Friday, which was very, very unfortunate. But we'll move to the first game, which was Collingwood and Gold Coast. Collingwood, 3-point winners here. Mitch, mate, who impressed you for this game and who didn't?
The girl who impressed me the most was my girl, Geordie Allen. She's finally come to the party. She's finally turned up and put on a decent score, 70 points. Where has this been? Where has this been? But it was here this week. And as soon as I saw that score, I knew I'm in for a big one this week, because the previous 3 weeks I've been putting up with a lot of pain. I've been holding her for the double game. She scored more points in this one game than she did in her double game round last week. So anyway, shout out to her.
Typical, it's typical.
Special shout out also to Ruby Schleicher as well, who I think others were pretty happy to see the 69 with the goal there as well. So the defenders from Collingwood getting it done, I think, was good to see.
Yeah, and then who are you disappointed with?
Disappointed. Who was I disappointed in? I don't really know. Oh, Campbell was very disappointing, I think, to anyone who maybe brought her in for the double game last week, and 17. Had to hold her, and 17, and she's gone from breaking tackle records or getting close to, at least I think, to 3 disposals and no marks, 17 points. Yeah, that's pretty gross. So that's rough.
I think, she's carrying definitely something. I know she wasn't listed on the injury report last week, but she doesn't, just didn't quite look fully sort of fit, unfortunately. She did still play 94% time on ground, just didn't get near it, and just not having the same impact, unfortunately. Moving over to the Essendon and Melbourne game, and geez, this was a result. Essendon 72 to Melbourne 7. An absolute demolition job for the Bombers. And Jaiden, who were you impressed with and who weren't you impressed with?
I was unfortunately impressed with Maddie Prasparkas. I was hoping she'd be cheap. The matchups next week are amazing. I just wanted her to be a bit cheaper. So it's unfortunate, but amazing. 116 and a goal. She'll be very popular this week as I think maybe a VC. I'm not sure if she plays first or second, but I'm hoping to get Prasparkas and Gardner. So that's my goal. Unfortunately, she's going to be more expensive than I hope. Or they play each other, do they? Yeah,
they play in the same game, but you got Rowbottom that plays first.
So sorry. Be the VC Rowbottom. Forgot about her.
One of the other two. And who are you not impressed with in this game?
There's plenty of Melbourne players down the bottom. I suppose Paxman. It's pretty rough. 18 points. She was pretty popular last year, so it's the name that I can recognise out of those.
It would have been Kate Hoare, but she had a decent enough second half to scrape to a near a 60. But she was on, I think, maybe she would have been around 20 or sub 20 at half time when I was checking the scores. So thankfully she got to an okay score there. But 57 still isn't a great score there.
Yeah, everyone owns her anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. But then again, maybe some people scored like 1990 or 1980 and they wanted the extra points for the 2000s. That might have been who they're angry at. Going to St Kilda and Freo, with Freo getting the job done by 11 points. In terms of who I was impressed with, I think it's got to go to Serene Watson again. So she was really good 2 weeks ago. She got about an 80 odd or a 90. And she was a bit quieter last week. I think she got a 50 odd. And then this game with a 87, thanks to 22 touches and 8 marks there. I've got her in Bolter and I think a lot of people got her in Bolter, but in official, a few people might have jumped off after the lower score last week, maybe to get a Sheeran or please, hopefully not an Emma Carney there. But but she was very, very good with an 87. In terms of who I was disappointed with from this game, it's probably got to go to Fiedler. 26 points. She still had, it was still majority Ruck. And when you saw Renee Karras was out, you thought, okay, well, Nolda was the player that hardly played last week. And then you'd think Fiedler's going to continue. But again, just she only had the 2 disposals, 1 tackle, which she'd actually been tackling a decent amount in the game. So, yeah, just disappointing scoring and really stunts the cash gen that she was making. So still made good cash, but yeah, just disappointing there. Moving to the final game on the Friday, which was the Bulldogs and the Swans, with the Dogs getting the job done by 7 points over the Swans there. So that's 2 in a row for the Dogs. Mitch, who were you impressed with from this game and who weren't you impressed with?
I mean, I don't want to say Edmonds because I traded her out. So I'll say Laura Gardner. I'm impressed by her. She's been my target this week coming up, but with the Fiedler issue, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it happen. I might have to sell for a Press Sparkers. We'll have to wait and see. But Gardner did her best to score the 116 and stopped her getting much cheaper than I think she's definitely bottomed out in price. So I was hoping she'd get below the 1.3 mil, but don't think that's going to be happening. And the disappointing player, let's go with Pritchard, Izzy Pritchard, 58. A lot of people would have got her in for the double game last week. But again, this was kind of the players that I was sort of not keen to trade in, because I'd imagine if you didn't have the double game round in that first week, a lot of us wouldn't be trading her in anyway. So hopefully we don't have to worry about these double game rounds next year. But if we do, a little bit of a learnings, I think, because these kind of players can burn you if they stay in your team for too long. So 58 is not the best when you have midfielders scoring a whole lot more.
Yeah, and the cash loss as well. That should go down a bit as well, unfortunately. Moving to the next game on the which no games on the Saturday, obviously with the men's grand final there. But moving to the games from today, the Sunday. So obviously North Melbourne get the job done over Richmond by 12 points in a very, very wet Launceston down there at Utah Stadium. So, Jaiden, mate, who were you impressed with in this game and who weren't you?
Like Conti was amazing, Garner amazing, Riddell pretty solid overall for that double game. So if you had 2 or 3 of those, you'd be stoked. I think, Garner was the best on the ground. She was set it up 625 meters gain, so that's crazy. And like every time, like Riddell pretty much only went poorly in the first quarter because she got stuck on the bench, and then the ball didn't go over there again. So it didn't go over on the far wing ever again. So I guess she couldn't get stuck there again, or other players couldn't get stuck. So it's unfortunate for her. But I think the disappointing one would be if you had Emma Carney, because she didn't go amazing in that first game. So she was already staring down a 117 break even, and with a score of 2, she's going down like $330,000 in the entirety of a double game. So yeah, that's very unfortunate if you went there. She was very expensive. So yeah, that's why she's losing so much, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunate. Obviously, will be a target for us when she's back. Hopefully, it's not a serious hamstring. It's only a couple of weeks, but we'll have to see. Unfortunately, with that there. Also, give a mention to. I wasn't impressed with champion data in this game. Like Conti got a +13, Riddell got like a +10. Like there's just so many stats that got missed in this game. I know that's a hard game to take stats because it's wet, but +13. Like I fell down in rankings because I didn't have Conti, and then plus that on top of it, unbelievable.
At least it's right in the end, like watching it
exactly.
live, it's only for the hardcore, but it's right in the end. So
yeah, exactly.
At least they did it.
As someone that doesn't own Conti, it was terrible because if your player gets a plus 13 post a game, you're loving it. You're like, brilliant. That's more points than what I could hope for. But as someone that didn't have Conti or Riddell and saying get plus 20 plus points for everyone that's got both, it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah, I reckon they missed a few more. Actually, I reckon there should be a few more points added on, to be honest.
But then as well, Garner probably should have had a 140. She missed a goal from pretty much directly on a very slight angle, very close in, and she sort of poked at it and it missed. But anyway, we'll take her score. Fantastic score. And we'll move on to the Giants and Eagles game. So, Mitch, who were you impressed with and not impressed with from this game? With the Eagles getting the job done by 24 points here.
I talked about Izzy Huntington, so I'll go somewhere different. Ella Roberts, she's a weapon, man. She's so good. The fact that she has been, I don't know if the stats back this up, but to the eye, she's been playing much more midfield time, probably since round 2 or 3 or something like that. And yeah, I'm not sure why she was playing more forward in those first couple of weeks, but she looks like really, really good and probably up there in terms of talent. So she was very impressive. Players that are disappointing. Beth Schilling, she's kind of killed her cash gen, 27. So
losing cash.
Probably going to be, going down, I would say. So that is not the best. So otherwise, I think everyone else kind of did what you'd sort of expect them to do. Maybe Thomas was a little bit disappointing, but 63 is, I guess, fine for defense. So, yeah, Beth Schilling, I guess, backwards.
Something you had on field, Olivia Di Donato, mate, 64. So
yeah,
it's good coach. See, I went Beth Schilling the week before their double because she had the lower break even, didn't go Di Donato. Could have saved cash and made more cash, and my cash gen has just been shot with some of the unfortunate or bad coaching. Could just be a bad coach. Simple as that. But we'll have to see. Moving to the Crows and Lions game, cracking game. This one was very unfortunate as a Crows fan going down by 2 points. I'm still convinced that mark by Taylor Smith was not a mark. She didn't have full control of it, and it got paid in front of goal, and they got a goal. But anyway, congrats to Brisbane on a very good weekend for the men's and women's. So, but I think Noffy's fairly obvious for 135, just keeps getting it done, hasn't gone below 120. So I'm actually going to give it to Ali Anderson, who, with a 113, I was very impressed with the fact that this was a really tough matchup. Her break-in was 115 or 116, I believe, Jaiden, before the round. For us that held her, probably we're going to be going to a Riddell or a Conti this week, but with forced trades, I think a lot of us held. And a tough matchup, we're just thinking, just get near the break-even, so we've got the opportunity to potentially trade next week. Or not. So she will stay the same price, essentially, I think. So, Jane, what was the break-even pre-round?
Pre-round, you're probably right. But, like the Sydney game was pretty high scoring, all the cheap defenders. So they needed to score more. So her break-even ended up at 124 as of this morning.
Yeah, so not too bad.
But, yeah, like Noffy's was like 169. And that wasn't the highest. There was one above that. Garner's was 173.
We've lost Jaiden, I think. So. Mitch, have you lost Jaiden on your screen as well?
No, he's still here with me. I'm hearing him loud and clear. I think it's you.
Okay, that's interesting. Hang on, what I'll do. This will be interesting for people to listen back to the podcast because Jaiden's talking and then I'm just bloody doing this. Hang on, Jaiden's back. Okay, yep, bloody internet. Anyway, sorry, mate, if I was interrupting you, but continue.
Oh, that's fine. I was just saying, I updated the break-evens this morning, and because the games were high scoring the previous days, like the Sydney game where all the defenders went well, the break-evens went up. So Anderson's was 124, and Marinoff 169, Garner 173. So they were very high.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I heard you up to the bit with you were just about to say Noffy's break even, then it sort of froze, and I was just like, I want to hear Noffy's break even. What's happened?
The number was too big, and it just crashed your computer. As an owner, I think you didn't want to hear it, so your computer just muted. Yeah, no, but it's funny that Noff had a quiet day for tackling, 5 tackles, but still got a good score. So
She was just marking today, which was great. So, yeah, absolute weapon. And then disappointment from this game. I don't think that there was too many disappointments, to be honest. Probably the one that a few people might have is a bit of a pod, maybe Danielle Ponter in the forward line. She only scored 37, so got kept in check by Bree Conan. Bree Conan had that matchup whenever she went forward to centre. So, yes, that was probably the rough one there, unfortunately. So, and we'll go to the final game, which is Port Adelaide and Carlton, with Port getting the win by 35 points here. So, Jaiden, to finish us off, who were you impressed with and who weren't you impressed with from this game?
Yeah, Gab Pound, 91. I think, I'm not sure what she ended up with for the entire week. But yeah, it would have been sensational. 167, 613K. Yeah, super pick there. There's obviously a bit of a hole to fill in the back line, and that was the pick right there. I almost had to go there, but unfortunately I had a bit of, like, at one point I had no carnage, and that was fine, and I was getting Garner, and then I had moderate carnage, and I was going to have to get Pound if I wanted to get Garner as well, and then I had too much carnage, so I couldn't get either of them. But overall, that's an amazing pick if you went there, and she's going to be pretty expensive now, I think. So you've made a fair bit of money. She's maybe close to 200,000 up, yeah. So she'd be like 800, over 800 now.
That's frustrating. I would, if I'd known that Brennan wasn't going to play the second game, and there's a chance that she doesn't play this week, who knows what's happening with the ankle or calf injury, whatever injury she's got, then I would have gone Pound to have the extra 200K. That would have really helped. But double game weeks, gotta love them. But yeah, who are you not impressed with from this game?
I suppose there's still a few rookies from Carlton. Dana Finn, if you still had her, I mean, you probably want to get rid of her now. Dersma was pretty popular as well, maybe for the name, I don't know. But yeah, she only maybe scored 50, which is okay. Like, she scored more than Friswell, but I don't think she's going to be going up a lot in money. And yeah, she's had decent time on ground as well. Well, she did in the first game, so you probably wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, no, frustrating. That's for sure. But yeah, just seeing in the chat there, Ben Hayes saying Mitch has given up, it seems. No, Mitch is up and about. He top scored for the week, so he's pretty happy. He's rocketing in the ranks the last 2 weeks. So no, Ben, he's up and about. Cool. All righty. Well, that is the games that we've gone through there. So we'll go through the trade targets for the upcoming next double week, which is the big double game week. Probably not in terms of teams, because I don't know about you boys, but I've only got one double before trades, and that's Charlie Rowbottom. That's the only one. Ella Smith, she somehow made her way into the team, which maybe I think Whitford went off injured there as well. I don't know if that what did anyone see what Whitford went off for in that game?
No, not sure.
No. Okay, I'll have to have a look at that. I'll look at that, but you never know. If Ella Smith came back in, then that would be my F6 saviour on the double. But I've only got one. Jane, how many have you got on the doubles pre-trades?
I've got 3 at the moment, so I'll hopefully get up to 6 and then have 7 next week. So yeah, fairly balanced across all of them.
Yeah. I'm definitely not. I don't know if I've got many next week either. Mitch, how many have you got next? Well, how many you got this week? Sorry, and then leading in next week.
I've only got 2 before trades. I've got Rowbottom and Darcy.
Yep. Yeah, cool. I'd love to have Darcy in my team. It says Gold Coast nil, no injuries, but Whitford was ruled out of the game, which is very interesting. If anyone's got that in the thing, then maybe let us know what happened to Whitford. So again, as I said, I was moving house that day, so I didn't get to see anything. So I mean, interested to see. But we'll go through the trade targets nonetheless from these teams as well. So let's pop them up on here. So we'll go by club because that was what was working well last week. So we'll go with the first team, which is the Bombers that have got their double. So Jaiden, obviously, Maddie Prasparkas would have to be one of those top ones there. You've got Jean Anscorn as well, a bit cheaper there. Maddie Gay. Who do you like from the Bombers as trade targets this week?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I'll be aiming for Maddie Prasparkas. Purely off, I'm pretty sure she has the best, apart from Hawthorn. She's got 2 positive, overall positive matchup, and then into the Bulldogs the next week. So she's someone that realistically I can hold if things go badly. So yeah, Sydney, Gold Coast, and then the Bulldogs the next week. She's pretty high on my priority list. I suppose, yeah, Gay also, she's been going very well. She's like one of the optimal starting picks. So she's going to be quite expensive now. So you'd hope that she can go all right. I think the matchups are okay, though, from a defender's point of view. So, yeah, you could go there as well. There are a lot of defenders to choose from. So I'm probably leaning to go a bit cheaper than her because there's a lot of choice. So I don't really want to. I feel like I can, take a punt and try and get someone cheaper who can match her, hopefully.
Yeah. Is there someone from the Bombers that you like, or another team that we'll go through shortly?
I think, I don't really know much about the other players. I think those two are the main ones. So I think has lockout just lifted? Did all the prices just change? Yeah.
Something
that
just
would
changed.
That's it. That's very interesting because yes, last week it was on the Monday. So good. But glad that lockout's lifted as we're doing it. But now, Jaiden, unfortunately, people are going to stop watching us and they're going to go do their trades.
Yeah.
So,
hopefully they have YouTube Premium and it's like playing in the background or what. I don't even know if you can do that.
Yes. But... Yeah. You can't do it if you're not on the YouTube Premium, unfortunately. Someone I'm looking at sort of going through the players here, and it'd be interesting to see what their price is now. I guess I probably should just close the app and reopen again. Hey,
was it Georgia Clark?
Yes. Yep. 300k for. Well, she was 300k before the round, obviously.
Yeah, 448 now. Defender.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I was talking about the Amber Clark, the other Clark.
Okay.
There. So So from the Bombers as a forward, she was 300k pre-round. She's still 300k. She hasn't scored great, 29-26, but she's 300k based on the fact she scored -1 against St Kilda when she obviously had that collision with Bonnie Toogood. So just someone that as you could put it, F5 for the week and reassess. But so the other Clark, is there any interest there from you, Mitch?
Oh, she's just gone 42.56. The last two rounds, she's just gone up 97k, back to close to where she started the year on. So she's overall for the year down 10,000. And if you want to save some dollars on your defender line, like I feel like I've been sort of thrown in the towel when it comes to my defenders. Like I just chucked Di Donato out there this week, and they seem to pull off and just let Geordie Allen sit there and seem to match it. Like that line more than any line to me, just I don't know what I'm doing. Like it feels like every other week there's players that score well and players that are good that score crap. And so in the interest of not spending up, like a player that, less than 450k that's got 2 games this week, I think you could do worse. I don't know what a break even would be, but I imagine it'd be fairly low with a couple of good scores in the last, goodish scores in the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, we've got the break-even man on with us, mate. Jaiden, what's Georgia Clark's break-even?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the prices now. I'm not sure 100% what's going on. They look a little bit strange. So I'll have to run it. I'll have to do the break-evens. I should be able to finish them tonight now that it's open. So, yeah, I'll be able to find that out.
Yeah, cool. Any interest from either of you boys about Jean Anscorn? She's down at 978. She went 114, 80, 83, scored a 53 against the Crows, which I know are a difficult matchup for some. And then Melbourne, she scored back up to a 90, and they've got great matchups. So she could be, I guess, an avenue if you don't have enough money to get to a Maddie Prasparkas. Jaiden, is that someone that you could consider if for those coaches, especially they've got like a goodie on field that want to maybe upgrade that final midfield spot?
Yeah, it's an option because, that's what I'll be aiming to do, get rid of Goody and, finish the midfield. So, I don't mind it. You just want to make sure that, I guess, you have an exit plan because we saw with something similar happen with Pritchard and she's popped out of 50. So, just be aware of that. Because you don't want to get stuck with someone and then they put out another 50 like she did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. We'll move on to Fremantle, who are also on the double this week. So Mim Strong obviously is a good option if you can afford that in the Ruck. But don't think a lot of us are looking for I think if you've got a dad, you're not looking for a trade. Right? Mitch, as someone that has got Fiedler, is there any way that you're looking at Strom and trying to sort of pay all the way up for her?
I mean, there is. She was definitely someone that I'd love to have. Whether or not it's feasible for me to do so is another question. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get her and one of either Prasparkas and Gardner this week, because my plan was always to trade Metagirin this week to one of those big dog mids, and then see if I can make another upgrade somewhere else. So whether it is like Fiedler to Strom is like $700,000. It's going to be hard to come by. So it's probably unlikely that I'm going to be able to get there. But I think that she's proven herself to be the best ruck. And if you can get the best ruck on the double game round, like she's scoring comparable to some midfielders, you know. So I think it's a solid place to go.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of other players from Fremantle that could definitely be options. I'm just having a look here at some cheap ones. So, like, I know, well, Jaiden, you jumped on Emma O'Driscoll last week, which I was a big fan of. I was looking at her and wanted to bring her in, but then opted for Sheeran instead. But then also Gabby Newton as well, who's been playing a bit of that midfield time. She's gone 71, 90, and 77. What's the price difference? About 57K. If you could pick either, are you still going O'Driscoll over Gabby Newton?
Yeah, I did like Newton for that midfield time. I'm not sure if I have the game updated. Yeah, so all year she's had like 55% centre bounces roughly. So Newton's role is fairly solid. And O'Driscoll hasn't been taking the kick-ins, but I just went for O'Driscoll for the more for the fixture. So the Saints matchup is good, and they did play chippy kind of game, which was amazing. And then, yeah, I do like O'Driscoll. She's kind of cheap for a reason with the 23 in the first game. So then, made up for it with the last few scores. So that's kind of why I went there. And yeah, I think she's kind of like, the issue is she doesn't really have kick-ins though. So she's pretty reliant on, I guess, Freo moving the ball. So she could have another poor score in her. She doesn't really have a good floor, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the cheap one, I think you go O'Driscoll, but yeah, I do like Newton as a bit of a pod this week. Someone I'm looking at in the forward line as someone that's got Brennan and maybe needs that 300K to upgrade in other positions is Ash Brazel. She's been sort of someone we've mentioned, but so she hasn't gone great, but her last two have been 42 and then a 54. She rarely comes off the ground as well. Geelong and Hawthorn seem like pretty good matchups as well in their double, and if she's your F5 finishing off, then that's not too bad. So she's someone that I'll look at. Is there any interest from either of you guys for her? And then someone also that's hasn't been great this year, but they're 393K, Ebony Antonio, who obviously hasn't been great. Is there any interest from Ash Brazel? And then maybe Antonio?
No.
No, not for Mitch. Jaiden, not for you?
Brazel would have been a nice starting pick, but instead of Ella Smith. But I don't think the meters gained is as high as, and I'm kind of hoping that it's not there for Brazel because I want O'Driscoll to get the ball.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And then final ones, obviously with the midfielders at Freo, Ash McCarthy or Hayley Miller. Any interest, Mitch, from either of those girls for you? Maybe if they can't get up to a Gardner or a Prasparkas?
No, probably. Like I want to really stress, like, at least this is my strategy, whether or not it's the right thing to do. But I don't want to trade players in that I don't see as a player that I would have traded in had it not been for their double game round. So I don't think these types of players are the players that I would have been trading in typically. Like, they're not upgrades, I don't think, from your other sort of mids that you might be rolling through there. So I don't think I would be targeting those guys. Like, I think Prasparkas is not that much further than from some of these girls anyway. So I think I think I'd be trying to do other things personally.
Yeah, I actually didn't realise, when we went through them, but Managed Plus is, 1.129 million. So, they're quite cheap. So, she might be someone that I'll be looking at as well if I can't get to Gardner there. Moving over to Geelong. So, I think, Jane, we've got to start with Georgie Prasparkas. 936K. Obviously, we know that she started the season off so with obviously preseason injuries with a 70 and then a 39, missed a couple of weeks, but then she came back last week, 96. And with A. McDonald now missing probably a couple of games there, is she someone that you'll be looking at?
She's around that good price that you're aiming for. And she was straight back into the midfield rotation, like 88% centre bounces. I'm not sure what that would have been if Amy McDonald played, but the whole game. But she's straight back in, looks fairly good, and I think she'll be the most popular option around that price. Because coaches are wanting to get Goody off field, and it just seems like a fairly easy upgrade there. So I don't mind it because she's a lot cheaper than what she started the year. She's someone who's been in our teams before, so I think she'll be very popular for that reason.
And the matchups are great as well. Like Freo, obviously we know for a fact they're a high stoppage team. We know Georgie can lay a bunch of tackles, and then also Sydney as well. I think two great matchups. So she's very, very high up on the list for me. Beck Webster, Jaiden, any interest there as well? Obviously that she's 895 covers. It's expensive, around the same price. So O'Driscoll, would you prefer like an O'Driscoll or even a Gabby Newton over a Beck Webster, or do you think with the injury to Amy McDonald, we could see a bit of obviously extra mid time, and that might sort of bump her up for you?
She 44% centre bounces this week for Webster. So that's pretty nice. I'm not sure if that'll continue if they figure out that midfield rotation, like if they bring in another midfielder for McDonald. But she's done really well this year. She did have a very good run to start the year. Geelong had the best, so you could factor that into your thinking a little bit as well. She might be overpriced. Her next positive matchup for defenders is Adelaide in round 10. So all the rest from here are below average. So she could be a bit overpriced for that reason. She had great matchups to start the year. So I'm probably not that keen.
Yeah. Well, Ashley Mine is someone that, if you've got the money to part for her, she's been very good, 80 and 92 in her last two. But Friswell, Mitch, she's down at 703K now. Obviously not great. Two of her last three have been quiet. 700K, are you happy to trade her in? She's probably someone, I guess, in the forward line where you'd be happy to hold for the rest of the year. So she's someone that you might be looking at targeting in the forward line?
Yeah, she was someone I was looking at before this round. I was sort of weighing up between her, Brendan, and O'Loughlin. And I went O'Loughlin, who, was obviously the biggest scorer of this past round, but now you're going to go into Friswell's double game. When you can put up those kind of scores, though, do you want to trade someone in who, even on a double game round, can give you 70 points? Like if she has two poor games and her price would drop a whole bunch. I don't know. It's hard to have a lot of confidence trading into the forward line, especially when you've seen players like that yo-yo their scores as much as, like a 48, a 36. If she puts those two scores up in a row, it doesn't feel very good. And plus her break even would be high and moving in the wrong direction. So I don't know. If you had to choose someone from the forward line, she's probably up there, but I still don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah. After a couple of lower scores, it's a bit like, because her break even's high, if she puts up a couple of low scores, she's going to crash. And if you want to trade her, you've lost money. So it is a good point.
Have to really move heaven and earth to make it happen. I don't think she's going to hurt you if you don't have her. Put it that way. Yeah,
that's a good point. And if you're looking for a downgrade option and you want someone that you might not have to play this week, but Meg McDonald is now 300K, but she is 300K for a reason. So her scores this year, 12, 6, 38, 26, and she scored 8 on the weekend. So I don't think you're bringing her in to play her on field, even though she's in a double, unless you had a Finn and you've got Carnage of when you needed just some heartbeat that plays 2 games. But as a downgrade, you could. But yeah, that's quite surprising that she's so far down there at 300K. I reckon that's it from Geelong, but we'll move over to Gold Coast because I think there's a few options there. Jaiden, for those coaches that don't have Rowbottom and Gardner, is Rowbottom the number 1 target if you don't have her this week on her double?
Yeah, so you're kind of just wanting that captain option. She's the safest of them. I suppose if you don't have her, I guess you technically could go without her. She does have like the best ceiling though of any player that's playing this week, so it would be risky. If you can't afford it though, like I guess you could go without it because she's been on the way down in price. I'm guessing she's probably still on the way down. She went down like 178,000 this week, so I don't know if you can find another captain option. Maybe you could pass on her. She's got Brisbane the week after, so
yeah. You just had to choose between the two, Gardner or Rowbottom. Who are you choosing?
As captain, I would be going for Rowbottom, I think. So I'm not sure how much is Gardner. So they're very similar in price. So if you don't have them, then I'd still go with Rowbottom. But I guess if you can't afford her, then I wouldn't like deliberately explode my team for it. But you need a captain option. Like you still need one.
You can definitely go Gardner, and you can definitely go like a Georgie Prasparkas, even under $1 million, even Maddie Prasparkas. So there's a few options this week. But yeah, Rowbottom, I feel like she's due a big game. It's been back-to-back games under 100. I feel like this could be the week, especially if Whitford was to miss. Still don't really know exactly what happened with Whitford there, but if she was to miss, that could even be more opportunity for Rowbottom to get more of that market share in there. Who else we got here? We got obviously Daisy Darcy. She just continues to get it done. Another 75 points. She's obviously a pretty good target. We don't think we need to go into much depth with Daisy because she's a great target and someone I'll look at. Definitely. Who have we got here? So we've got a few cheap Gold Coast forwards. So you've got like an Annabelle Kiewit, Mitch at 540K. She's been pretty good. 44 and 57 last week in her last game. Went up a bit in cash at 540. And even Jack Tapai, who the start of the year we thought was going to be one of these forwards we're going to keep. She's dropped a heap and she's now 521K. Is there any interest from either of these girls for you?
It's hard for me to say with any confidence. Like Annabelle was someone that I did look at a couple of weeks ago. She's obviously made a bunch of cash, but now being at 540,000, I think we've missed the boat on her. Dupai, it just because the reason you'd be trading her in is for scoring. I don't like obviously she's cheap, but because her break even would be down and her price moved the wrong way, like she wouldn't be a quick cash making option, I don't think. So if you believe in her to be someone you're comfortable fielding for a few weeks, then yes. I don't know what you've seen that suggests that.
She could be the Gemma Houghton of last week, whereas I took that leap on Gemma Houghton, and as I said, quarter time, season done, it wasn't looking good, but she did come back and go quite well. The one thing from Jack Tapai has been promising last 2 weeks is that I know the scores 32 and 42 are still not great, right? But if you're looking for a silver lining, she had 4 hit-outs and 0 hit-outs in the first 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, she's had 13 and then she's had 11. So there's been a bit more ruck time for her there. So if you're looking at that potentially, Hawks and Essendon, if you think Gold Coast are going to play better in those games, then maybe that's where you can go. But
they've been very disappointing. Like they lost to Collingwood, and Collingwood have been trash. So
they haven't looked great this year. Yeah,
they have not looked good at all. So that to compare them to Houghton, I think Port, surprisingly enough, have looked better.
And they had a tough run to start as well. They had a couple of wet games. So that's another reason. And then also Porter got a pretty nice run for the rest of the year. So Any interest in any other Gold Coast players there, Jane, that we haven't mentioned? A few people so we saw someone in the chat that asked about Lucy Single, who had a really good game. She's been great last for 3 weeks, so 95, 85, 115. She's a bit expensive though now. I think she had that jump this week, so she's essentially the same price as like a Prasparkas. So are you just going like a Maddie Prasparkas or someone like that over Lucy Single?
I think for me, I'm probably leaning against no other Suns because I'm just banking on Rowbottom as captain, I guess. So I'm kind of just like double or nothing type deal. I don't really want to hedge, and I'm kind of backing in Rowbottom to go big, and hopefully none of the others steal points off her. So I think that's probably where I'm leaning. I think there's probably better options around Singles price or a bit cheaper who are the number one mid at that team.
Yeah. What about Bella, the Ruckman, as like a short-term plug and play? If you're an idiot like me that's got Fiedler on the field,
on the double, you could luck at it, but she only went up 4K this week, so her cash gen it did stop with the 53. She went 65 and 68 the 2 weeks before that. Obviously, tough matchup against Collingwood there this week, but she does have the Wales sisters in back-to-back games, so the decent matchups. If I don't know, for some reason, a Darcy Davis was ruled out or something like that, and she was the clear-cut solo ruck, I'd be a lot more keen on it. I just worry that her sharing with a couple of other people, like Darcy Davis has hit-outs, Jack DePies hit-outs. That's my only worry, but if she's the best you get to, I don't hate it. Jaiden?
Yeah, she's kind of. It's funny because like Jared Witts is like so similar, and they're the same. They're the same team. They're just hit outs only. Against the Wales sisters, you could do worse. Like I think they're definitely positive. Like that's the best matchup of any ruck on the double this week. So in combination, so yeah.
You'd want to get off like the next week, though, right?
Oh yeah, against Brisbane the next week. So that's like what did Jess Allen end up scoring today? She was on like barely any. 33.
Yeah, wow. I didn't actually see. I know that she didn't score too great. Yeah, Brisbane obviously being a really tough matchup. So
I have to get Noffy in as well. I can't be stuffing around with any other trades. So
yeah, exactly. Final team we'll go through is Sydney, and they're the final ones on the double. So, again, we don't really need to say much. Laura Gardner, great option. She's been very, very good this year. Started off with a couple of 90s, but her last three, 108, 118, 116. Essendon and Geelong, pretty nice matchups there as well. So, she's an option there as well. Mitch, who have you been sort of keen on from Sydney? I can see like Anella Heads there, for example, was at 640K. 96 on the weekend after a couple of poor games. She could be an option. Is she someone that you're looking at? Any other players from Sydney that you're quite keen on?
Well, so Gardner was the big one for me. I was keeping an eye on Morford, but obviously she played the 40%. I'm assuming, I didn't watch this game, but I'm assuming she went down injured. You want to?
Yeah, she was on crutches or something at the grand final. Saw a photo with her and Chloe Malloy. I think she tagged Chloe Malloy and said crippled or whatever, like both of them injured. So, but tell you what, next year, you're going to be cheap.
Yeah, so that one's obviously been ruled out. So, yeah, no one else. Well, while we're on the rucks, like, so if she's not going to play, is Alexia Hamilton, who had 83 and 91% game time, is she someone we can have a look at?
Yeah, potentially. Well, that also brings in as well, if Ali Moffat's out, Giselle Davis, who was in the forward line at 491K. She was taking a bit of that ruck time before, like she had 21 hit outs. I think she was actually the one that was taking the majority ruck. So I just imagine that she'd come in. So I thought she would be the player that I'd almost target if Ali Morfitt was to miss time. Jaiden, how do you see that Sydney duo going? Do you see it being Giselle Davis being just the main ruck that comes in, or do you think Alexia Hamilton could be an option for Mitch in the ruck if you're looking there?
Yeah, Hamilton's been okay. I reckon you could go there. I don't think Davis is she's a forward. So yeah, I don't have the ruck splits, but when they played last week, it was 50-50. And
Morford missed rounds 3 and 4 and most of rounds 5. And Davis still hasn't done that much. In 3 and 4, she went 40 and 47.
yeah.
And it priced at 491,000. Like, is that needle moving? Like, I don't think so. Do we expect it to do much more than that, or?
Well, you're looking for a ruck, and like she's a forward, so you wouldn't go for Davis. But I think Hamilton's proved like pretty solid. So I guess you could go there. And she's like decently cheap, 600. So you could ride the break even. I think what's her name? Hamilton. So it'll be roughly Alexia Hamilton. Her break even will be like 32.
Yeah, okay. It's just so she obviously wasn't playing round 1 and 2. She came in round 3, scored a 16, and that was the first round that Morford missed. So this game she's played 91% time on ground, and there was no what was her name again? Sorry, Davis. So if Davis comes back in and mucks it up a little bit, it's just interesting kind of a watch, I guess. They're both kind of just, I guess, eating into each other's time, which is
Well, the 10 tackles as well helps with that score. So you could just ride the money. I think I'll probably prefer that over Bella.
Essendon, Geelong, and then North Gold Coast after the next week. So okay-ish matchups. There's no Brisbane.
You could, if you're doing it for a cash thing, you could just ride the 2 changes and hope that she's reached a rough price by the end of 2 games and then trade out.
Yep.
I don't know what I missed because my bloody headphones completely went flat, so I couldn't hear anything. So I had to quickly run into the other room and get other headphones. But do we talk about Ella Heads? Yeah.
No, just Ruck Tings.
Okay, Ruck Tings. Okay, good. I like that Tings. My best mate will love you for that, Mitch, mate. So Ella Heads obviously had a great game on the weekend, 96. Before that, she was obviously bad, but she dropped a lot in price at 640K. We know, in fact, she can be up there in terms of premium scorers. Jaiden, is she someone that for those people, mate, they've got a Dana Finn, best shilling, rookie D5. If that's the best you get to, is she someone that you'd be looking at?
Yeah, it's a good name, someone that we know, and like she's gone decently well in the past. Positive matchups combined against Essendon and Geelong. She had 5 kick-ins on the weekend, so she's had this year. She's had 6 kick-ins in round 1, and then 4, and then 1, and then 2, and then 5 this week. So she got back into kick-in action, which seems to be her only way of scoring. I think in round 2, she was on like 56 at quarter time, and they had like 6 behinds. So she would have had all of those. Like for a price, you can do a lot worse, and she'll be decently break even of 34. So you could have a look there just as a double positive matchups. I'm not sure if Geelong and Essendon how they're going to go against Sydney. You'd hope they flog them, and there's a lot of behinds for head's sake. But yeah, she's very reliant on the kick-ins, so that's just something to keep in mind.
Was there any kind of role shift in those like rounds 3 and 4 that saw her having so few kick-ins? I suppose round 4 there was only a few kick-ins to be had, but
yeah, I think in terms of AFLW, it's pretty like luck-based because there's not heaps of them. It's the same with centre bounces and stuff. Like there's just not enough sample size for it to be amazing. So in round 3, when she only had 1 kick in, Brianna Tarrant took 4 of them. But then how much game did Tarrant play last week? Most of it.
She did. Tarrant did play. She got managed.
The week before, sorry. 72%. So she played a bit, but she didn't have any kick-ins, and Heads had 2. So I think it's more of a team-related thing, like how many kick-ins as a whole team they're getting. It's very few, and the Dogs didn't kick very straight. So it's going to be very reliant on that.
Yeah. Anyone else that anyone's looking at? I think someone in the forward line that's pretty good has been lately is Cynthia Hamilton. She's been getting a little bit more of that midfield time, 61, 90, and 67 in the last 3. So she's someone that you could potentially look at. But Jaiden, anyone else from Sydney that you're looking at from this week?
I don't think so, but overall, there's a lot of value to be had here. So there's going to be someone like a Gab Pound who just pops really well. I think if you're looking for someone cheap, I'd probably aim for someone from Sydney because they just have a wide range of options. And I think, one of them can do it. So compared to other teams, so I do like, some of them. And they scored really well as a team last week, even though it was against the Dogs. But there's some low break evens going around, and you could just have a punt at one of them, especially in the defender or forward line, like we've been talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And final thing we'll do is we wrap up. Is there anyone from any of the other teams, Jaiden, that have got like a low break even or anything like that you're keen on? That maybe you've got a single game this week, could be a rookie, or maybe someone's got an upcoming double that you're keen on?
Personally, I think I'll just be aiming for 3 that are on the double because we have the biggest range of options. I suppose if I was to look for next week, it's pretty much just Project getting off back. So that's going to be a consideration for me. I don't know. But obviously not trading in anyone who isn't on the double in these next 2 weeks. I think I'll just be aiming for this week for a start, even though I already have 3 of them. I think a lot of people have less than that. So there's, you definitely need to keep focusing on them, even if you've had big scores and increased your rank. It's kind of a 4-week kind of process.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Meg Robertson's someone there that Corey was suggesting, obviously from Carlton. She was pretty good today. Does have Brisbane. That's the only thing that sucks. You had a good matchup. You could look at that there. And someone I did see that played today. If you're looking for a downgrade, maybe Anise Bradfield could be someone that you're looking at from GWS. She scored a 58 against West Coast, only 43% game time, which is not great, but she's got a double. If you need a downgrade, she could be someone that you look at to get a bit of money there. So a few different options there as well. But I reckon that'll be where we wrap up everything. So we'll sort of just go through Mitch. Early thoughts. Obviously, Lockout's lifted while we're live, so you probably don't really know. But what's your rough idea of what you're going to do with your trades?
So I'm going to be trading Matty Gear into someone. I've probably got 3 options. It's going to be either one of the Prasparkuses or Gardner, I think, will be my 3 options, depending on what I'm doing with the other trades. I do probably need to do something with my Ruck line in Fiedler, although I'm not sure. She still has a double round coming up, but it's the time on ground that really scares me, 52%. Regretting that trade of Edmonds out now. I'm also considering I don't want to get too comfortable with D Donato sitting at my D5, so something I could change there. But it'll take a lot of marking and playing around to get there. But I will be trading in one of those midfielders. The other ones, I don't know.
Yeah, because you've already got Rowbottom, correct?
Got Rowbottom, got Darcy.
It'd be good to have a VC double into another double so you can get a bit of a look at someone, I guess.
Yeah, and I just don't think Gearin's going to be someone who I keep long term, and so I think getting those midfielders in, if you can have more than one midfielder on the double, I think it sets you up really well because there's other positions just don't quite have the ceiling that those midfielders do. And maximizing those points each week, I think, is important. So,
yeah. And Maddie Guerin's been great. She made 723K. If you started with her, which I think a lot of us did, but then she didn't do too great in the Pracky games, and we sort of faded her and we went for cheaper ones, but we probably should have kept her in there. So, but yeah. Jade, mate, what do you look?
I think it was a great trade. It's one of my best trades, I think, so far the year. So she did a job well.
Beautiful. Jaiden, what are you looking at doing your current moves or rough plan?
Yeah, I'm just playing around now. What I was thinking earlier in the week was trading Riddell, Goody, and Window and trying to get 2 premiums and a rookie. I don't know if I'll be doing that because Riddell has the dogs, so maybe. It depends if I want it for the rest of the year, which I feel like I do. But, I've been playing pretty aggressive, so I could do that. Otherwise, yeah, I could downgrade Fiddler to Pierce as a red dot because Ellis Smith will be playing kind of early. I think it's okay, though, with Rowbottom, so that's fine. And then getting Maddie Prasparkas, I wouldn't be able to afford Gardner like that. So it's just whether I want Gardner, I think.
Yeah.
Whether I'll do the other thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. For me, it probably depends on if Brennan's out, maybe going her down to get a couple of 100K from a forward, which would allow me to go Goody up, and then I could either go maybe Anderson over to Gardner, or if I need to trade Finn, which I think I probably do, and try and get her to a defender. So a little bit of playing around for me, a couple of options that I can consider, but so a few options I'll have to go through before I sort of look at trades. But we'll be live on Tuesday night at the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. per time for our round 6 preview, obviously because the double game is continue with Tuesday night football again there. So make sure you guys tune into that. But Mitch, mate, thanks for jumping on tonight. Good to chat to you after a couple of weeks off, mate. Where can the people find you? And also NBA's kicking off obviously pretty soon. So where can people find the basketball content?
Yeah, you can find me at Ball Boys Fantasy on Twitter and at Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball on YouTube and all podcast platforms and all that good stuff. So we had a big trade the other day, which was cool to see coming back from our camping trip, and really ramping up just a few weeks to go to the start of the season. So if you are getting into your fantasy basketball preseason research, come check us out.
Yeah, beautiful. Get around legend that Mitch is at Ball Boys Fantasy. Jaiden, mate, where can people find you and the website?
Yeah, you can find the site statsbyjaiden.com.au. I've got kick-ins up there now, centre bounces. So if you need those, they should be updated. I kind of update things mid-round as well. So if you are trying to plan trades, I guess like throughout the week, because it is a long week with these double games, you can kind of check it out. So
yeah, make sure you definitely check it out. As I said last week, Mitch Jaiden is essentially the fantasy coach subscription, which is fantastic. So we all thank you, Jaiden, for all the hard work you do, mate, and very much appreciate it. And you can find me at BalesDT. You can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter as well. And appreciate you, everyone that sent through their questions, sent players you want to discuss positive when you get to all your questions tonight. But we're going to get to more on Tuesday night, as I said, for our pre-lockout chat as well. And if you've got any questions and want to send them through, then make sure you go to askbeyondq, spelled qu.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics to ask all your AFLW fantasy questions. If you are doing fantasy basketball, make sure you hit up Mitch at askmeonq/ballboys, and you can get all your fantasy basketball questions answered there as well. But thanks, boys, for tuning in. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in live. If you are tuning in live, make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening back to the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and review. That'd be very much appreciated. And we'll catch you guys on Tuesday night for our round 6 preview. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night. See ya.